It's Aaron here. Finally worked out how to hold my camera sideways to do a proper widescreen video for you. Hey! Thanks for those who pointed that out, sorry, in the last one. Yeah, I want to give you guys a bit of an update video. Sorry if it's a bit shaky. I'm going to be a little bit quiet because my son's asleep in the hallway across the... he's asleep opposite me in the hall. He's not in the hallway, he's in his room on the other side of the hallway. Sorry, it's night time. And yeah, I want to give you guys an update as to a little what's happening and then go around my nice little man cave here and just sort of show you my setup here and talk to you a little bit about how I go day to day with the different retro systems and how I have them all set up and what I do. The old house that we were at, the room that I used, I grew out of that so quickly when I started getting multiple retro systems. And my goal for setting up this office was to completely declutter it. Just have my video card collection, my main office, my racing rig properly set back up in here again, because I have gone probably 2 years without using that and I miss playing that thing, miss using that so much. And so I didn't want to have multiple desks and just a lot of clutter. So I don't have storage in here other than just the built-in wardrobe that's in the corner. All my other stuff is actually in the garage, because before I had like a massive IKEA unit and it was just chock-a-block full of bins of junk and crap, and I got sick of the clutter. And that office was really difficult to start filming in because I had to clean up the office basically every time I wanted to like film stuff, so it looked neat, and I hated it. As in, I couldn't do it. I didn't have the time to clean up and then actually film. So I wanted to separate that, like the building of the PCs into the garage and the using of the PCs in my office. So that's what I've done. I can do basic video card swapping and some basic component swapping and things like that in here. But if I want to go rummaging around some of my, bins of cables or bins of whatever, I can do that in the garage, not in here. So anyway, I'm going to stop recording this so I can flip the camera around and give you a tour of my office. Some things are going to change, but I'll talk to you about those as we go around. Now look, I'm looking at the screen, but the camera's down here on the bottom corner. Hello. Anyway, I'll be back with you in a second. So I'm standing in the corner, and yes, I'm in my pajamas with my slippers on. Deal with it. So this is where the door is basically to my office, and it's basically a 3x3 room, so 3 meters by 3 meters squared, with built-in wardrobes in the corner there. So I have my collection sort of over there in the corner with my racing rig set up just here next to the main window. And come on, please stay in focus. The way that I have this set up at the moment is actually temporary. I've put my main 27-inch monitor that I normally use on my desktop. I've put it on here at the moment so I can just use this temporarily like that with this setup. You may notice that this is the window, and there's a very nice white blind here, which also looks very similar to a projector screen. So I'm actually looking at investing in a bit of a projector to use for here, so that way I don't have to have a big monitor set up, taking up too much room, because I eventually want to have something that's a bit bigger and a bit more widescreen, compared to, or just a bigger image basically compared to the 27-inch. So there we go. So this is temporary, and the speakers and this at the moment, this is actually from our entertainment unit in the living room, but we got a new entertainment unit, hasn't turned up yet, so I'm testing them out in here when I can. And yeah, alright, so let's just come around to the racing rig a bit more. So those of you might think that this thing looks really rough and really dodgy, and you would be right. But there's a reason it looks like this. That bit of wood is it's an old head of a bed, like that goes behind, like upright behind a bed. It's a chunk cut out of it. And the actual metal that was used to make this come off of an old bed of mine that I used like 10-15 years ago. I kept the metal because I wanted to build a racing rig out of it. And it looks like shit. Well, no, it doesn't look like shit. It looks rough, but it is like there's like stacks of wood down the bottom there. But look, it looks rough because it's completely function over form, or function over style, let's just say. It's purely built to just fit my posture and my size, and how I like to feel comfortable racing for long-term racing. But my grandfather built this for me. I helped him a little bit, and unfortunately my grandfather passed away within the last 2 years or so, and this was one of the last projects that he completed before his Alzheimer's kicked in, and he wasn't able to work in his shop anymore. So I haven't wanted to paint over the welds, I haven't wanted to touch it up, because every little part that has the welds on it, and the grinding that he did and things like that, I have a memory of a conversation that I had with him when we were doing that, and so it's a bit special to me. I know it looks like crap to a lot of you guys, but I mean, look, there's massive bolts sticking out of it here, you know. Yeah, so it has like this dual rail system. So like at the front here, there's just like a triangle section that holds this board up, and I'm going to fix the wiring up. That's one thing I am going to do, but like just how rough like this is, all the welds and how it's all marked together and stuff. Then I can adjust this depending on the angle of what I want this to be, whether I want it more flat for GT racing so the wheel's upright, or a little bit more so it's like this, so that the wheel's leaning downwards towards me, like F1 style almost, a little bit. But yeah, it functions, and I have a lot of memories over that. So yeah, I'm going to be getting a seat cover for this. This is an old like Officeworks, like $100 cheapo seat that I used to have years ago. I kept it because it was a perfect comfy seat that I could use to mount on the metal underneath. So yeah, but it does the job. And then eventually I won't have the speakers, because I basically use my Bluetooth headset these days, as opposed to really the speakers usually, because I like I like using headphones in the racing rig rather than like speakers and stuff. But yeah, so the plan is that I'll have it facing that way against the projector, against that, when I actually want to use it, and then I'll turn it around like this when I don't want to use it anymore, just to keep it that way out of the way of the rest of the room. So yeah, the collection, I kind of decluttered it a little bit out of some of the stuff that I didn't want to show off, like the extra GPUs that are either dead or broken, or stuff that I might end up selling. There's a few cards here that are for other people. I've got to send those ones over to Nathan from Pixel Pipes. One of those 6800 Ultras is spoken for by a friend of mine in Tassie. The other one, I think I may end up sending that to Nathan as well. I'm not sure yet. I can't remember if he's got one or managed to pick one up or not. An AGP one, that is. I have my own reference one up there, but yeah, not bad. Anyway, then we come around to my main setup. I'm going to just back off over here. So this is my main setup over here. Yeah, let's just pull this out of the way. Cheap DX racer chair I got from work. Bought 2 of them, thought they were identical. My wife got the best one, and I got the baseline one. Was not happy about that, but she was. Whoops. Anyway, so this is my main setup. This is an IKEA desk, but I've kind of customized how it fits together to suit the limited space I've got. So like these little wing shelves normally go on the outside, and normally there's another tray that goes along here that your monitors sit on, so you've got space underneath it, and then the monitors sit raised up. I don't use that because I've got a dual monitor stand that both of my monitors are sitting on. Got a HP monitor and an LG one. That's a real cheap HP one and really bad for gaming, but usually I use that one with that one as my secondary. So hence why this is a temporary setup. This one's horrible for gaming. It's like 8 milliseconds or something like that, crazy, and it's 60 Hertz. So, I mean, that's 60 Hertz as well, but it at least looks better and has a better response time than that thing. But anyway, let me try to get that in focus. There we go. So at the moment I have my main, up the top here is where I have the main Windows 98 PC or my Windows 2000 PC, depending on which one I'm using. And then I have one that I'll show you in a minute that I normally keep down here. That's like my Windows XP, like early Windows XP system. That one I'm changing and rebuilding, so it's not there at the moment. The case is in the wardrobe here that I'll show you in a minute. So at the moment, right now, I'm having a lot of fun with my Windows 98 PC, which I'll come over and show you. So that's a 1 gigahertz copper mine that I've overclocked to 1.2, 512 meg of SD RAM, and I'm swapping between 2 different video cards, doing some testing at the moment. So this is a it's a GeForce. It's a Voodoo 3 2000 PCI, but I've overclocked the snot out of it. So this thing's currently running at 175 megahertz. I believe you can get a little bit faster when you're not using the reference heatsink, but I don't want to risk pulling it off because it's glued on there, so I just stuck a nice little fan on there, and that thing screams along when it's overclocked. However, I've also been testing the main card that I want to actually use in this PC more full time, and this is a Hercules 3D Prophet 2 Ti, so it's a GeForce 2 Ti essentially. But you'll notice it has a aftermarket cooler on it. This thing looks awesome with this cooler on it. I had to do a little bit of modding on the PCI bracket. With that little lip that's normally folded over, I had to flatten it out so that the cooler fits properly on there. But man, this thing works really well. I love it. It's awesome. But yeah, I have the desk set up with enough cables and stuff attached to the monitors here where no matter what generation of secondary system I have running, I can just connect it up and use my secondary mouse and keyboard here to control that system. So at the moment this monitor is exclusively for this PC and this one's exclusively for that one. Yeah, and you might be wondering, how do I get this one connected to that? Well, thankfully I just have the USB cable for the racing rig and the HDMI cable for the monitor, and they just plug straight into HDMI USB into the front of this case. And what the hell is this? This is the EVGA, it's like the DG-85. That's like the in-between middle of the range version of this particular case. Looks like an old-fashioned CRT case design almost, but I love this case. It's got so much room for water cooling in it, and it's got so much room for airflow and things like that. With the big Vega 64 in there, you know, it looks like a normal sized card compared to how much room is in this. So I have a pretty basic custom loop setup, pump down the bottom, 280mm rad in the front, and then an EK water block on the Ryzen 3700X. Nice Gigabyte X570 master, and then the Sapphire card in there. But yeah, I love this case. I picked it up through work on clearance from one of our suppliers, and it cost me like less than $100 Australian. It's amazing. I love it. So I might. It's sitting on like this old entertainment thing here, and it's like wobbly as fuck. I've got to fix it, but yeah. So I just have the rad in the front, 280mm, and then a little fan down the bottom. That's just pushing air over the hard drive cage that I've got in there. That's another thing about this particular case, is that even though this case was super cheap, which I really love, the 85 model doesn't come with any of the hard drive cages that you can put down the bottom, like the dual hard drive cages. So I had to modify some Corsair ones, or modified a Corsair one to fit just underneath there. And then I've got it attached sitting on some sound dampening foam just to stop the vibrations and stuff, because it's not actually screwed into the case at all. It's just sitting there on top of the rubber sound dampening foam. But it's sort of neat and sort of tucked away. You can barely even see it in there. It's really nice. But yeah, quite a nice case. I'm rocking, the video's not going to show this up too well, that's not red and blue, that's pink and light blue. I'm testing out that whole lot of sort of Hotline Miami sort of colour scheme. Advantages of RGB these days, you actually get to play around with colour themes a little bit. Kind of like this actually. The green tubing is a bit off because I normally have green and purple colouring, but I went with the pink and blue for a little while, see how that looks. and I might get some black tubing in the future. But yeah, on to the setup here. So I've got other cases and stuff that I pull out and chuck in down here. So eventually I'm going to have one case down there. So that one will be my Windows Vista setup. That one will be my Windows XP setup, like early XP, early Vista, so 2007, 2008 sort of ish hardware. Sort of that'll be a Intel Core 2 Extreme 9770 Extreme Edition system. That's what that one will be. Sort of like that real high-end last gen Core 2 sort of era, really good stuff. That's what that will be. That'll be a Pentium 4 Northwood based system, or it will be my Athlon FX60. I haven't confirmed which one exactly I want to put in that one just yet. I have them both set up, I just don't know which one I'll put there. Yeah. Anyway, so eventually I'm going to get a projector that sits on this shelf here and projects straight across the room at the wall, at the screen there, which is awesome. It's going to look cool. But anyway, let's have a look at the other computer cases I have. So coming into the wardrobe, which is nice and hidden in here. So if you guys remember my old setup, you may have seen in one or two random videos that I had an IKEA lamp that has like the straight up lamp and then the bendable one that goes off to the side of it, and around that I had like 1 million cables looped over it. Well, now I'm just using the built-in storage hangers and I'm just going to loop all my cables on that, which is awesome. So yeah, these are all my systems that I'm currently putting together. That's the Windows 2000 PC, so that one's got a dual 1.4 gig Tualatin motherboard in it, a really nice gigabyte one, and that will eventually have a Voodoo 5500 in it. At the moment it has a Quadro XGL 980, so like the high end, it's like the TI 4600 equivalent, but the Quadro version that has 8x AGP support on it. That's running that at the moment because I had dual DVI. It's quite nice for capturing content off there. But eventually I'll swap it over to the Voodoo. So it'll be a dual CPU with a dual chip GPU. Yeah. And it'll have 2 gig of SD RAM, which is awesome. That's my Athlon 64 build. So that's the one that has the FX60 in it. I have an issue with that motherboard at the moment because there's an issue with the BIOS where I can't, because I've been swapping so many video cards in and out of it. Something's happened with the BIOS where it's now locking me out of adding any other cards in there because it can't detect what they are and it's just not getting past the boot screen sort of stuff. So I need to reflash the BIOS or clear the BIOS in a weird way or something to fix that. It's having some issues at the moment. It's like that NVIDIA ROM check thing that's happening. I've tried Googling the issue, and there's like so many people like, oh, just reset the BIOS, take the battery out. Doesn't work. I've had that thing disconnected from power with no battery in it, trying to like reset everything, and nothing's worked. I don't know how to fix it properly. Anyway, that's for another video. That case is empty. I'm actually going to be putting it in the garage. That's, you might notice another steering wheel here. That's on the other side of that is the pedal set for that steering wheel. Those, ooh, almost fell over. Those I like lean up against that bottom bar, the pedals, and then I mount the steering wheel here for when I want to play something on the retro system. I have another monitor that I set up here, sitting in the garage at the moment, so I can use like racing games with a wheel and pedal set on a retro system, so like an early, Formula 1 game or something like that. Which on that machine I've used, I think it's Formula 1 2002. It's a really nice game, that one. It works really well with that wheel. I've got a box of just some cables and junk in there at the moment. So that's the Lian Li system that'll have the Pentium 4 system in it, AGP Pentium 4 with a, I'm thinking of going the ATI 9800 XT. That's probably what that'll end up being in there. And then this Lian Li case here I picked up off an old friend of mine very recently. It's like a one of those aluminium cases that's black on the outside, but red aluminium on the inside, so the whole lot's red. Looks really awesome. I'm going to be doing like a really awesome ATI themed crossfire build in that. I think it's going to be a temporary build to start with, just to sort of make it a full red build, but it's a really awesome one of those, you know, really nice red aluminium cases that Leanne Lee made. And it has the full bay device, so you can put like 5.5-inch drives up the whole front of it. It's awesome. But yeah, for the moment they're just stacked here, so I can grab them, put them up there, or put them back in here as I need to, or work on them as I need to. At the top is just junk storage. As I said, there's just bits and pieces up there, a couple of old posters and whatnot, so nothing too interesting. But yeah, eventually I'm going to have a lot more cables. I've got like a whole box of cables that I'm going to have to hang off there eventually for the different setups and things that I use. But yeah, nice little tripod mount on the door. And then that, again, I'm going to have some other cables and bits and pieces in there. So yeah, that's the office. Hope you guys like this video. Very unscripted, just look around of bits and pieces. Oh, quick mention about the speakers and the stereo. So this is an old stereo that I got from a mate years ago. Served me well, but unfortunately it's having issues, so I'm going to be getting rid of it. These are speakers I got through work. Really nice, really nice home theatre sort of, well, not home theatre, like bookshelf sort of speakers. They're about, I think, 110 watts peak, 60 watts RMS, with internal crossover. They give really nice sound. This thing doesn't do them justice, because that's a sort of an all-in-one solution. With Sony has its own speakers that I've got in the garage for that. This requires a proper amp. So what I'm going to be doing is picking up a second-hand amp, like a Yamaha one or a Pioneer one or something like that, and having an amp up here that powers those. It'll be a bit nicer to control compared to that thing. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for some more videos soon-ish. Sometime soon. Yeah, catch you later.